Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am Leni Cavazos, retreat strategist and host of the show for coaches, entrepreneurs, and transformational leaders who want to design retreats that actually make money. If you've ever put your heart into a retreat only to walk away exhausted or worse, broke, you are not alone. This podcast is here to change that. Each week, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and expert insights to help you create meaningful, transformational retreats that also support your business, your lifestyle, and your bottom line. Let's make your next retreat not just powerful, but profitable. Before we dive into today's conversation, I want to make sure you know about something that could completely change the way you run your retreat business. If you ever felt unsure about how to price, market, or consistently sell out your retreats, this is your invitation to stop guessing and start building something scalable. I am hosting the Sold Out Retreats Workshop live in Las Vegas, a full-day, high-impact experience designed to help you build your profitable retreat empire in one powerful day. You'll walk away with a pricing system that guarantees profit, so no more guesswork. Magnetic messaging that attracts ideal clients without constant posting. And then the exclusive transformation location to pick a retreat spot that sells. And a complete sales system designed to fill your retreats every single time. This is for coaches, facilitators, and transformational leaders who are ready to run retreats like a business, not a side hustle. There's only 8 premium seats and limited VIP spots, and they will sell out. So go now and reserve yours now at theretreatplanner.com/live. This is not another mindset event. This is your business plan in action. Let's turn your passion into a profitable transformational retreat model. Hello, welcome to another podcast episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am your host, Leni Cavazos, a global strategy for retreat. Now, before we dive into our conversation today, that is absolutely amazing, that is all about retreats are not a side project. They are a scalable profit system. I want to tell you what makes this system different than every single else thing that you see out there. And yes, I am twisting my tongue and I do not do edits for my podcast episodes. So you might see a couple of mistakes here and there, and that's okay. But what I do not hesitate with is to tell you that I am not here because I hosted 46 different retreats and learned one system that works for me 20 years ago, and then I come and teach you that system. No, that is not me. I am a person that comes from a professional business acumen, helping you build a repeatable system. And I'll tell you a little bit more about how that came to life and how did all these pieces in my background actually led me to who I am today. So I actually started my journey in events. And I can tell you that I started when I was 16 years old, but I probably actually even started before that. I've always had a passion for creating events where people could build connection. It led me from working in weddings, right? Being a hostess and being a front desk officer at a hotel when I was 16 throughout my summer, right? To the space where I actually created a company where I used to do catering for weddings and baby showers, bachelorette parties, you name it. And it was absolutely amazing. I got to create all these connections. And then one day I wondered and I asked myself, where is the best place as a hospitality major to go experience hospitality in its biggest way, right? Like, what was the boldest way? And then I was like, oh, well, Dubai it is. It's a city that has been built, specifically created for tourism, right? The Sheikh 50 years ago decided that how could they make something out of a bunch of sand and nothing really, really pretty. And they went to this space of creating a city all about tourism. So if you've been there, you've seen the tallest building, the tallest hotel, the biggest roller coaster, everything big, big, big. So I was like, well, that's my next destination because I want to learn from the best because I want to become the best. And that led me actually to move towards the Ritz-Carlton. And I was working at Ritz-Carlton and I was working in food and beverage. And then I started rebranding restaurants. So I rebranded 9 restaurants and I started doing the festive season events. And what does that mean? It means I made it snow in the desert, right? Absolutely amazing New Year's Eve party. And the whole garden was covered in snow. I had ballerinas dancing to the Nutcracker throughout a whole month. So really creating these amazing immersive experiences. And as part of this, I was able to be part of the PR team, creating press releases and articles for magazines and just building up all these events and these very specific brands so we could get more clients. Because at the end of the day, a restaurant can be amazing. The branding can be perfect. The room can be lit into this beautiful space for people to take pictures. But if no one comes, what happens? The restaurant will go out of business, right? If we do not get anyone to sign up for our New Year's Eve dinner, we'll lose money. And we run things like a business. I can tell you, I used to do all the revenue reports. Oh my gosh, days of work. But what I learned from there is that so many people out here in the industry that are hustling and bustling to have a business do not know that having a revenue report, knowing your expenses and your profit margin is crucial for a business. And if you're not doing it, you are losing money. Right? So anyway, fast forward from there. I was like, after rebranding 9 restaurants and a spa, I was like, my time is done here. Yeah. I was like, okay, this is great. What's the next step? And then from that next step, I actually moved to a corporate office for Marriott for Middle East and Africa, where I was part of the team that actually launched Marriott Bonvoy, the loyalty program, right? So, you get points when you stay at hotels and you get points when you buy things with credit cards, right? That's what we were doing. And we had to oversee over 250 hotels. So imagine launching a campaign where you were merging 3 different loyalty programs into one. My first role when I came, they were like, Leni, you're in charge of the food and beverage part of the event, the gift bags, and the backstage with Craig David. And you have 15 days to put everything together. An event for 300 people with backstage access to a show that was called La Pearl. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And then from there, it just went crazier, right? I was doing dinners in front of the Giza pyramids and we had Alice in Wonderland immersion dinners. And we had dinners in the summer palace of the King of Saudi Arabia with 7 courses with infused food. And actually we had a bar, and I'm thinking now of like Christy, my business partner for like We Summit, is like we had a bar where you could create your own perfume. Right? Everyone, the gift bag for that event is like you would take your own perfume home and you chose the smells, and then we had a perfumist in the room. So going through all these amazing events, I found that as deeply transformational they were for me, they were not that transformational for the people attending. They would come and they would leave and they would be a little bit happier. But it didn't change their lives, right? And as I was going through my own personal inner journey, and I don't even want to call it a spiritual journey, but it was more a journey about getting to know who I was and what I liked and what I didn't like, and just really like reacquainting myself with myself to a point, right? I was like, well, there has to be more. So I started going to breathwork sessions and sound healing. And then I like trained as a sound healer. And then I went to my first retreat. And I went to my first retreat, and I have to tell you, I left it running. It was a horrible experience. I did not feel safe. I was shamed the moment I said I wanted to leave because I did not feel safe, and that was not what I was looking for. And I swore to myself that I would not go back to another retreat. Can you believe it? Leni, the retreat planner, the person that teaches you how retreats are super transformational, her first retreat was a horrible, horrible experience. I left and I never looked back. It was only until a couple of years later when the pandemic hit that I actually decided to move back to Mexico, my home country. And luckily enough or not, my family built a retreat center while I was going through this whole process of I'm never getting close to a retreat again. So I got there and I was like, oh, I'm going to take a sabbatical. And my family as well, you might as well hang out in the retreat center because here you can relax. You've been working for so many years, living super stressful lives, traveling the world. And I was like, well, that sounds fun. I can do that. I can relax and reset and, repeat by the mountains in Mexico, by the pool. But I think my brother had other plans for me. I really think he did. So he started saying oh, well, why don't you join us in this sweat lodge? And I was like, well, that sounds hot and moist. But I ended up doing it because one day it was but it's our mom's birthday. You have to come in. We're celebrating her inside. That's the birthday cake ceremony. I'm like, okay. Again, I left the experience and I swear I'm never going to do it again. And I was doing breath work and sound healing. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I was completely out of it. But there was something that was resisting, right? And then again, my brother had better plans for me. I think the universe always gives you more than what you even think you can get. And then he had to go out of town. And there was going to be this women's retreat. And they actually asked no men to be in the retreat center. There's going to be a little bit of nudity and all these kind of things, So, the things that are very, very popular these days, naked retreats. But it was not a fully naked, but there were some activities. So there were no men in the space. So he was like, hey, I know you ran events in the past. You know hospitality. You know how to do this. Would you help me out? And he's like, you don't have to work. I just need you to be the liaison between the team and the retreat leaders, just to make sure that they have everything they need and, they're happy. And you take the retreat. And I was like, okay, well, let's do this. I'll do it. I had no idea what the retreat was about. Okay. I was just like, okay, well, you have to be here tomorrow. And I got myself there. And this retreat was a retreat for women. And it was very mystical. It had all the pieces. And I just attended it and it changed my life. It completely changed, first of all, my perception of retreats are horrible. Run, please run. Run, Forrest, run. To what the hell just happened to me? Literally. I got to reconnect with who I was. And I actually got to discover even pieces of me that I didn't even know they existed. And I ended up this retreat and I was like, oh my gosh, I need more. And I wanted my mom to go. I wanted my friends to go. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be the spokesperson of this retreat because it was just so deeply transformational that I wanted more people to experience it. So I went and I asked the retreat leaders, I said okay, so when is the next one? And they were like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah. When is the next retreat? Well, no, we're not going to have another one. And I'm like, but why? Like why? Really? And they were like, well, because we didn't make any money. And it was 6 months of work. And I was like, but you have 13 people who signed up. Yeah. How? 13 people signed up and you made no money. I just couldn't believe it. I was such in a shock that I was like, there's no way. This is not possible. You just changed my life. I want you to go out there and change other people's lives. And in another episode, I'll tell you all the dirty secrets, details of what happened inside of the retreat. I'm just thinking through them now. But I was like, you just changed my life. I got to see myself in a different way. Like there was a point where we had like a rebirthing ceremony, and like I went into the water, and like I was just in there, and I was going through the hands of women, like it was a birth canal, and then I was choking. And then I can tell you, I was choking, and I felt like I had something in my neck, around my neck. And I know when I was born, I had the umbilical cord around my neck, and they had to do a section, so I could breathe. I could feel it through that. Imagine the opportunity of reliving your birth so you don't, like, you remove the trauma out of it. And I know this is a little bit maybe on the woo, and not everyone who's listening to this, you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is the type of retreats I want to do. But it's about the transformation. It's about shifting from point A to point B in your life. Now, going back to the phase where I was like outraged, right? The other part was like very deeply transformational. But I was then, at the end, I was like, how? Just like, tell me why. Like, where was the problem? And they're like, we don't know. I'm like, how do you know? What do you mean you don't know? Well, we just like had the place. We were like, this is the price we want to sell it for because it's like angelic numbers or whatever. And we just started selling it. And I'm like, okay, so what was your break even? Break even? No, we don't know. And I was like, okay, so what was your, like, the number you needed of people to have in order to get this to happen? They're like, we don't know. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of don't knows here. I let it go. Right. I was like, okay, well, this is amazing. If you ever host another one, just let me know. I'll bring my people because you're so great. Like, you should not stop. But, who am I to tell you not to stop? But that got my nerdy bug working. Yeah. My nerdy bug was like, ooh, what's happening here? So I started doing research. Because, if you come from a background like me, we spend thousands of dollars doing customer market research. And then we redo it 3 months later. And then we do it again. And then we do it all over again. So for me, it was just an easy step. I was like, well, this is a problem. How can I solve that problem? And what's the real problem behind it, right? It's not just like I didn't make any money. There's so many underlying things there. So I was like, well, let me just interview retreat leaders. And yes, I was in a lucky space where I got to ask my brother, hey, can you introduce me to a bunch of retreat leaders so I can ask them questions? And he was like, yeah. He's like, I will even put you in touch with everyone who has booked a retreat for a retreat center for the next year. You can interview all of them. They might be able to actually get something out of you so they can sell more spots. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, so I did that. And then I was like, well, I need to find different markets, not just like, the people who are coming specifically to this retreat center. So I started putting interviews out there. Long story short, I ended up interviewing over 100 people. And like 90% of the people I spoke to that has hosted retreats actually made no money. They did not have any intentions to do any retreats again because it was so hard. And they had no idea about the numbers for their business. They just didn't know. Isn't that crazy? They were like, I was like, okay, so why did you start this? And they're like, well, because I had a mission to change the world. I'm like, well, that's an awesome mission. I also have a mission to change the world and impact people's lives. What is the plan? What's the strategy to actually make that happen? Most people don't have a plan, don't have a strategy, don't have a system. They're just winging it. There's a lot of people who are running retreats like it's a hobby. They're like, oh, I want to go to Hawaii. Let's put a retreat there. They don't think about their audience. Where does the audience live? Where does the audience want to travel to? Even going into an example here, going deeper, it would be like, so if I'm hosting retreats for moms, can they really, 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 like, honestly, like a lot of moms, could they actually leave for 10 days to cross the world to go on a retreat? Or would they be better off having a retreat that is shorter, 3 days, 2 days? At least until they convince the husband that, going to longer retreats are so good for him. So really think about it from this space. I'm not here to teach you one business strategy and be like, oh, yes, you post on Facebook and you sell it, or you post on Reddit and you sell your retreats, or you post on Medium. And don't get me wrong, I have clients who sell their retreats on Medium, posting articles. They sell out and they are profitable. There's so many different ways. But I am here because I teach all my clients to create a system that works for them based on their professional acumen, their passion, or their pain points. And based on that, yes, we use trends, we use this, and we do a lot of market research. But you don't get a cookie cutter strategy system. You're not here to copy everyone else's strategy that seems to work or that it works. You're here to create something that feeds your soul, but has such a strong foundational piece that tomorrow you're not going to wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I cannot go into Facebook today or onto Instagram and go live. And then your business crumbles. So, after this very, very short story about myself, right? I want you to think about, for you, what is your story? And where do you want to go? Where do you want to take your business to the next layer? What's happening there? How does it look like? Do you actually want to profit from your business? Or is it safer to actually stay behind the scenes, hidden? Is it not making money safer for you? Do you feel that way you're going to survive? Look, let's be honest. A lot of people in this space, and in the world in general, they feel that putting themselves out there, showing up, becoming more visible, will literally kill them. It's an unconscious fear that you will die. So you don't take action. So you play it small. So you put a retreat and then later on you're like, oh, well, yes, we had deep transformation. And it doesn't matter that you won't be able to do it again in the future. Or you'll be like, oh, well, I lost $10,000 on my first retreat. That's normal. Other coaches tell me it's okay to lose between $10,000 to $50,000. It's not. It is not. You deserve more. You really do. You have a gift. You brought it to this world. And it's your responsibility to share it with others. May it be hosting a retreat for patchworkers, or hosting a business retreat, hosting a retreat for couples, hosting a retreat, a painting retreat, right? I've been to painting retreats. My mom goes to painting retreats all the time. It can be a retreat about doing nothing and just reading a book. You have a moral obligation to share your gift with the world. And as long as you keep playing it small, you're not going to do that. You're not going to have the results. And you want to ask yourself this. When you're 80 years old, are you going to regret not taking those actions today? Are you? Now, to fun topics, right? Because that got a little bit heavy, don't you think? You get to create the life of your dreams, the business of your dreams, the retreat of your dreams. You have that creative capability. You just need someone and a system to help you skip the line, right? So if you want to skip the line with me, you want to come and join me for my live event, Sold Out Retreats and Profitable. Because yes, you can have both. And you can have 6-figure businesses. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode where you got to learn a little bit more about who I am, what I bring to the table, and what I do. I want more people hosting retreats, but I want them to do them right. I am tired of seeing $300 retreats where there is no profit margin. And don't get me wrong, retreats are at $2,000 and $3,000 and $5,000 also can be not profitable. So it's not about the price point. It's about how you run it. So join me for the event in Vegas. It's a one-day intensive. You are going to come out with actually tangible systems to go implement in your business now. See you next time.